So I tried strategy, Shay, and they just don't work. We put a lot of money into time, investment, everything, they just don't work. And I get it, right? Strategies are difficult, they're not straightforward. There's so many elements to strategies to get right, and they all need to be aligned, complementing each other, not contradicting. And that starts from building your mission to your vision, working on that. It doesn't happen overnight, it takes time. Then once you're happy with the vision, then it's about building the plan, and then all the risks, the mitigation factors you need to build into that plan. It's not just a happy path. And then execution. It's not just execution, it's iterating. So as you can see, there's a lot of different elements that need to be aligned to get a strategy to be successful, okay? But what I see when I work with companies who are struggling with strategies, over the years, I've boiled it down to about 4 to 5 things that I see happen all the time. They repeat themselves all the time. And number one is that they don't bring their teams along with them. A lot of directors go off and sit in a bubble in their office and build a vision, then just dictate what that's going to be for the next year. And that may work for some. It's great if you're a solopreneur. It's only you need to discuss this with. But if you've got teams, if you want to be successful, wouldn't it make sense to bring your teams along that journey too? Wouldn't it make sense to have them involved in building that strategy? Because if they are bought into the strategy, they will execute it because they've been a part of building it. So build it with them. It's a team thing, shared values for shared gains. And in business, it's not about you being successful, it's also about your teams winning too. So make sure you bring them along the journey. It's a team thing, okay? Number two, probably one up there with number one actually, is not offering enough space to make it happen, to execute on that plan. Everybody's busy in their day jobs. The world has gone very busy. Everyone is overloaded. So in order to succeed with a strategy, you have to create space. You have to create space so it's short-term pain from a BAU, business as usual perspective, for long-term gain. Once you create that space for people to execute it, and then when you start seeing results, it's going to motivate them to do more of the same. So make sure that you allow ample space for people to execute on the plan. Otherwise, again, it will just fail. Another big one I see is that strategies are just too rigid. You've done a lot of great work and you've done a lot of data collection. You have a really good mission and vision, so you're really happy with that. But then you're going into execution. You've planned it, you're going into execution, and you stay on that tunnel vision even though things are changing around you in the world. And here's the thing, everything changes. As I always say, the only constant in business is change. So you got to be the change. You have to be ready for it. You have to adapt when it happens. You have to iterate. So you have to ensure you build targets and metrics that you can actually measure and see, is your strategy still valid? If it is, yes, keep going. If something has changed, do you need to change? What is that change? What do I have to tweak? Where do I have to pivot? What do I have to do differently? And that happens. Guess what? That happens often. Any strategy I've ever worked on, either for myself or my clients, we've had to change. Because if you think about it, when you've built that strategy, that's based on information you have now. You go 3 months into the execution phase, you know 3 months more of information. So therefore, you have more knowledge to act on, and you must act on that knowledge. So make sure you're ready and adaptable to change, because that's what strategy is. It's all about being adaptable and flexible to change and be the change. So the other thing I see, as I said, strategy is not just one thing. Strategy is multiple things working together to make it better. So many things in alignment. And what I see, companies don't have the competencies within the organization to actually understand, first of all, where to start, then work that strategy, make sure you're happy with it, you build that vision, build a strategy to plan and execute. But people don't have those skills. They don't understand that it's a combination of all those things that must be right. They must be aligned in the same direction. Because what I see often is companies go away for strategy day late in the year, for the year coming up, and they have a great day, they have great ideas, they do brainstorming, they go off, they shake hands, they have a few drinks, have a bit of food, they have a good time. They may put up notes the next day or get the notes done up formally and share them. And that's it. They don't do anything to actually ensure that this is going to actually come into play. They just assume things will happen and people will naturally build that strategy to achieve their vision. But that doesn't happen. You need to predict success. You need to absolutely know what's going to happen. And again, as I said in the previous point, you don't know that now, so you have to find out. And when you start building the plan, you're building your first guess of what you believe, or your first estimate of what you believe are the right thing to do, but you won't get it right. And I talk about close the gap execution, where when you've met the 3 months module and you're comparing against what your target and what your actual, then you have to define, well, there's a gap. What brought me closer to the target? What took me away from it? What do I need to do differently for the next period to get closer? And I play close the gap execution. That's what you need to do. There's so many different variables within the strategy process that you need to get right. So it's not something that people inherently know how to do. They need to learn. It's a learned skill. It's a learned tool. And as I said, they need to bring everyone involved. There's the soft and the hard side to ensure a successful strategy execution. And the final one that I like to talk about is not having one. Many companies do what I call the ostrich syndrome, go into the ostrich syndrome, where they put their head in the sands and assume what they've always done will always work. They just keep going. And unfortunately, as we've seen over the last number of years, things change and things can change fast. And if you weren't planning forward, executing forward, you got stuck in the sand. You got stuck. It's like the ship in the harbour with no water. They got stuck. The tide went out. They couldn't get out to the water. So it's important to be ready and adaptable to whatever happens in the external marketplace, the trading economy. Things can be very fluid. So you need to make sure you build a strategy process for that. And what I talk about is, when you're doing strategy, you do the good scenario, you do the break even, and then you do the not so good. But then over the last number of years, we've had to include something else, and that's the crisis model scenario. So when things get really bad, how do we protect the business? How do we even protect our customers as best we can? So then when things come better, we're still there, our customers still there, we can still help them be better at what they do. So companies should always have a strategy, and the companies don't are exposing themselves to the elements. And it's not about, I don't like taking chances in business. You have to, as best you can, predict success. I hope they help you. I hope they make sense. If you have any questions about strategy, please get in touch. I'd love to help. And in the meantime, this is Shay saying, have a great day.